Welcome everyone. We got Volitar here, aka Blake, who I've seen around the tournament scene several times. Just seen his name on various Cobra brackets, but I've also, I believe, played him once or twice in a tournament. And I just got finished on yesterday recording and commentating on him and Willie Bean doing a finale game for an eight-person tournament. And so I asked him if he wanted to come on and talk about himself and that match there, and he said he did. So here we go today, and I'm going to turn it over to Volitar to tell his Netrunner story and say welcome, Volitar.
Yeah, well, thanks for having me. So I first got started playing Netrunner in 2015 or 2016. I think I got the core set for just like a Christmas present, and played a little bit with my brother, then started playing with some people in college, and had a lot of fun. Loved it. Bought some like data packs off of this buying guide on Reddit, and they were great. One time face checked a Janice on like really early, and then was playing with one card in my hand, so that was exciting. Sometimes of learning, and yeah, it was pretty good. But then here's the thing. I didn't know that like competitive Netrunner or really existed at all. And I'm not even sure if I knew about Jinteki.net even. And so I was student teaching at the same school as the big boy, Abram. And so I was doing some stuff, helping out with like math team and his game club, and we got started talking about Netrunner, and then I was like, oh, like I thought I really liked it, but turns out like there's been tournaments happening the whole time. It was really sad to find out that Worlds had been happening like 10 minutes from where I was living for like several years, and I didn't know about it. So but teaching was like a lot, so I didn't really get into it then until kind of like 2019. I started playing some on Jinteki.net a little bit more, and then I think early 2020 the Twin Cities League went on to sorry, so I might want to restart some stuff because I have to plug my computer in, which means I have to move to a different room, which means the lighting is going to get real bad. So,
Oh yeah. So
all right.
We'll see what
Not
we're
sure the
doing.
best way to handle that.
No, I say
But
we
I
just
literally
roll with
cannot.
it.
All right, all right.
Except for the fact that you've done shown your whole house here. No, I'm joking.
True.
So we're going pitch black Volitar now here, huh?
Yep, that's right. Yep.
All right.
I always liked Mountain Dew Pitch Black, so Pitch
Yeah.
Black Volitar works too.
This is thematic here. I'm feeling it. So now you're
Yep.
evil villain Volitar. So
There we go. Well, I was playing Wayland recently, so seems to fit,
Oh yeah, yeah. I'm a Wayland guy myself. So wow,
There you go.
really cool story. Keep going. I'm interested.
Yeah, so once everything moved online because of the pandemic, I was actually able to like play in league games because otherwise I wasn't able to make it in person, just with conflicts with work. And so started playing with the league there, and then through that got involved in the Slack, and then that through the Slack channels I found like the beginner channel and then all kinds of things. Started doing some different tournaments, and I think my first one was one that Fighting Walloon put together that explored several different formats, and that was a whole lot of fun. So started really doing anything that was new formats. So playing modded, hopped in with Jumpstart and Reboot. And yeah, it's been a whole lot of fun. I really enjoy some of like the deck building aspects, which is why I think I'm drawn to some of the different formats outside of Standard. Standard is just so large of a card pool and so hard to build for. and other people are so much better at it than me. So like if I come up with a deck idea, there's a better one online. Um, so you know, but have a lot of fun playing standard too. But I've really been focusing lately on reboot and modded and trying to figure out like new modded archetypes that haven't made. They've got like a list of decks together. Um, so trying to find new ones, and I think I landed on a Jinteki that might work. So we'll see how it does the rest of this tournament. But
Interesting. Yeah, you sound like
mhm,
you sound a lot like me because I too feel intimidated by standard. I've done a little bit of it. I played in
mhm,
the most recent store championship on green level clearance, and I played in worlds this time. But I mean,
mhm.
it's just I really like to dig into some of those more limited card pools and those unique card pools like what you're talking about. So I've been jumping all around too, modded, ret runner. I've kind of taken a break on modded until they get the new cards out,
Yeah.
and concentrated on the original core, just exhausting the
Hmm.
original core pretty much. Yeah, but it's quite like you said. It's a pretty funny story, and you ended up. So you didn't do really any tournament play in person then, even though you were 10 minutes away from Worlds.
Yeah. None at any
and
point.
and you're pretty close to FFG too, aren't you?
Yep. Yeah, that's where the Roseville FFG when I was in college was like less than 20 minutes away.
Wow.
Um, so yep, and that was pretty much every world I could have been to, but didn't really know that they existed.
Yep.
So
You don't know how envious a lot of people are of you, including me, and you never took advantage of it.
yep.
Even though I
Yep.
didn't, I didn't really, I started in 2015 myself, but I didn't start in 2015. I played with my wife 25 times, and she was like not interested. So it sat on my board
Yeah.
gaming shelf for years until I finally found somebody to play it with me. So I'm just now learning all about it a little, later myself. So, do you
Mhm.
play other board games and everything as well?
Yeah, yeah. I've got like a whole box of board games that I like keep in my car to always be ready no matter where I'm at with board games.
Nice, nice.
So
So, what's your
mhm.
so give me your top three board games.
Probably Dominion is for sure one of them. Um Gloomhaven. I don't own it, but I'm doing a campaign of that, and that's a whole lot of fun. Um, I don't know. Suppose party game would have to be one of some form. 10 people or so. Let's say, I guess if you count werewolves as a board game, that one's
Sure.
good. Balderdash, maybe. I don't know.
Okay. Okay. Are you doing Gloomhaven the full thing or the Jaws of Lion, the newest
Doing
Jaws
the
of Lion?
full thing.
Okay.
Yep. And
Uh,
got a Frosthaven ordered so that our group can transition to that once we finish. So
you're running it with how many folks? Four, the full four,
we're doing three.
three,
Yeah.
and how many scenarios are you into it so far?
Maybe just short of 20, possibly. Something like that. We've had one character retire. Um, and then my character is a level six, and I'm not even close to retiring. I have barely started towards my goal at all. I don't
Hmm.
know when I'll get there.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm
Yep.
I'm I'm almost done with the Jaws of Lion. The full campaign's a bit too much for me to bite off. I've got
Hmm.
a lot of board games competing with my time, and they haven't been getting as
Yeah.
much of my time since Netrunner has taken over here. So, but yeah,
Hmm.
it's a Gloomhaven's definitely an interesting game, and glad you're enjoying it. I know a lot of people do out there. It's number one on BGG probably still. I hadn't checked in a little bit, but
Yeah,
yep.
for sure.
Well, so you're doing so you've got Ret Runner, you've got modded, you've got Jumpstart, you've got Reboot, the Reboot tournament we just did, and any other ones going on right now? Or is that pretty much the list currently?
Yeah, that's the list currently. I've done others in the past, but no like long-term ones, you know.
Yep. What's your plan whenever the new core set comes out in the next couple months?
Hopefully convince my friends that live nearby to buy it. And then get a kind of local meta going would be awesome. Um, I'm a little too far north to really make it down to, or really, I'm too far into the middle of nowhere to make it to any meta that's gathering. Um, but yeah, I'll pretty much definitely get it. Probably play some standard, but I'm guessing I'll probably just play more of whatever the new mod it is, and um, you know, reboot, ret runner,
Yep.
the reboot ret runner thing that's going on in personal workshop right now. So,
Yep. As much as I was planning on getting started on standard, there's a lot of other cool formats going on that I really like. So I think I'll probably when the new core set comes out, I'm probably just going to dig in to the just that core set for a little bit with the update cards and just like try and
mhm,
build some decks with it for a little bit and maybe
yeah.
start to play around with standard a little bit because I know a lot of the servers and all are going to kind of not really force you, but they're gonna continue to like be like, "Hey, let's try standard." I'll be like, "All right, I'll do it." So let's go, you
Yeah.
know. So, but yeah, like you said,
Yeah.
it's kind of intimidating to say, "Can I build a deck? Can I actually
Yeah.
look at all these cards whenever I haven't played with a large number of them to know what's actually
Mm.
competitive, and then play enough games to actually be competent by the time it's time to play a tournament game with
Yeah,
that deck, you know?" So,
for
but
sure.
but all right, so let's talk about reboot here. Tell
Hmm.
me, you've done Jumpstart. Did you do the first reboot tournament? That
Yeah.
was like all the way up to I believe was it Order and Chaos? I think.
Yep.
Yep,
Yeah.
I did too. And then you've done the most recent one with just the core here. So tell me,
Hmm.
what's your impressions of reboot so far?
Yeah, it's been really fun. Especially since when I started, I did a lot of kitchen table netrunner with kind of like the core and some Genesis. I really enjoy getting back to some of those cards, but playing out to Order and Chaos, the reboot constructed pool right now, I would say what's really cool about it is just pretty large diversity in core and runner decks that are out there right now. Um, Gaslight has some exile decks that are super fun. Um, recently playing the core tournament, I'm like, wow, Crash Space is super good. Why did it not see more play? It's been buffed. It's like a cost reduction in reboot. Um, but Exile has such a fun way of doing like damage protection because now that he draws two cards from installing things from the heap, it's really fun to have like clone chip as it's can be your backup damage protection if you need it. And so it's like, I don't know, like that's pretty wacky, I guess, and enjoyable. And yeah, I don't know, just playing some. I love noise, so it's been really fun to play some noise and aggressive Anarch decks. Um, the core pool has been really fun too. There's just been some really interesting like Jinteki buffs. I tried some brain trust shenanigans because now it's like a 3-2 instead of a 4-2, and can't remember what it was, but
No,
now
it
it's a
was a
3-2 and
3-2.
every advance.
It was a 3-2
Yeah,
originally. The brain
okay.
trust. Yeah.
It was just every two advancements would lower ice cost instead of every one. So
Oh.
it's like when now since it's every one, I tried building an RP that like you get a over advanced brain chest out there, like a one over advanced right away, and then you get an Akitaro Watanabe down. Um and you get Cell Portal as a infinite res at 0, and you get like a 7 strength ETR code gate for free. And it was not necessarily competitive, but it was really fun.
Yeah.
So I don't know, messing around with stuff like that has been um, enjoyable. The core experience um, definitely doesn't really seem super balanced. Although the original core wasn't super balanced either, it was always runner leaning. But Gabe is maybe, I don't know if he's necessarily stronger because account siphoned was hit pretty hard, but the crash spaces being cheaper, I think they would have been good regardless. But um, crash space is really strong in Gabe. There's a little extra influence, which is there's not a whole lot deck building wise you can do otherwise in core, and there's still not necessarily a whole lot you can do because there's only so many cards. Um, but Gabe is so strong,
Well,
so strong.
I actually think what makes Gabe stronger is the fact that you can run Corridor, Gordian Blade, Ninja instead of Mimic
Mm-hmm.
and Yogg, and it's cheaper now that Ninja's where it's at, right? So you can run that and not
Yeah.
have to rely on data suckers. So I really like that change. It makes, but I think that's really what gives him potentially that boost that makes him almost unstoppable. But I will say this: the Corp getting stuff like Hadrian Wall for $7 and a
Yeah.
few other changes, I feel like you have a better
Yeah.
chance of getting a game more often that is close and the Corp can pull out versus an original core. I've been playing a lot the past week with just the original core because I was getting ready
Yeah.
to start on the GLC tournament this week,
Mm-hmm.
and I have not been able to win a game with Waylon in like 30
Yikes.
games. I went 30
Yeah.
games, and before I was winning a bunch of them, so I don't. Once you get a
Mm-hmm.
good deck, and you get somebody who knows how to pilot it, there is literally almost no way of doing it unless you got exactly what you needed in your opening hand and they didn't account siphon. You basically need an ice to
Yeah.
cover up headquarters, and
Mm-hmm.
you need a C and maybe even two scorched, but a C scorched and a hedge fund. You need a hedge fund, an ice wall, and and a sea scorch, and leave R&D open and hope they're not familiar enough to not run R&D first turn so that you can go ahead and just sea scorch them and be down to 3 cards because they played a couple cards and ran
Mm-hmm.
R&D. That's pretty much what you need because
Yeah.
as soon as they get to rolling, they get a crash space out there and they know to keep their hand up to 5 cards. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
almost impossible. It's almost impossible. You'd have to triple advance a posted bounty early in the game behind 2 ice because they can inside job it, and then you're gonna have
Mm-hmm.
to next turn posted bounty them, remove the crash space with 2 money, and then double scorched them. Probably is what you're gonna have to do to pull
Yeah.
off the victory. And that happening
Yeah.
is like almost probably a 3% chance, right? To actually make that
Mm-hmm.
combination happen successfully with
For
all they
sure.
got going on before, especially on the first like
Yeah.
4 turns before they build everything up and they just run your server anyway. So it's just crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, and that's I
yeah,
think what I'm missing is that I haven't played original core in a while to compare it to. So I'll have a lot better knowledge in 4 weeks at the end of the Netrunner core tournament. So, but I
yeah,
do think that you're right that the games tended to be pretty close that I played throughout the tournament. I think the runners definitely are winning far more often, but the games are not necessarily runaway games all the time.
yeah,
Um, and also, even though it was like mostly Gabe for runners, I've faced both a Kate and a Noise, and I mean, they felt pretty good too,
yeah,
Um, especially, Noise. It's hard to know because those mills can be really good. I think it was like, um, turn one, it was like a Pryreq is milled, and I'm like, oh boy, this game is gonna get interesting.
yep,
Um, and so it's that Noise is You can never count him out. Even with 10 influence, he can still be strong. And I think that's true even in the full constructed card pool. I feel like um the 10 influence, it's a big hit, but he still does pretty well.
Oh yeah.
Um
I mean, Anarchs definitely, could probably beat Corp probably 75-80% of the time still, but it's like,
mhm.
why do that whenever you can have Gabe who can just about probably win like
Yeah.
95%? I mean, it's brutal.
Yeah.
It really is. Like I said, once they know what they're doing and they got a deck, the 3 infiltration is key. If you're running Gabe in
Yeah.
this tournament, the 3 infiltration, because you got to worry about with HP and even other ones, the aggressive secretary. That's one way you'll lose,
Mhm.
and then
Yep.
blowing your money running servers, right? So if they double advance
Mhm.
an asset and the server one, you're able to go ahead and check
Yeah.
that before you go blowing 20 money, which is what they need to get back in the game with their sea source scorched with a Wayland, right? So having those
For
infiltration
sure.
and that crash space and keeping your cards up to 5 in hand, I mean, you
Mhm.
just about can't go wrong. You just got to take your time and be a little patient and build up slowly.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's definitely going to be a fun. The reason why I decided, I'm just going to be honest with you. The reason why I decided to run Wayland in the Ret Runner tournament here, um, I don't feel like HP's much better. I feel like HP
Mhm.
can be probably a little bit more consistent, and they can work to build
Sure.
up them glacier style deal. But
Mhm.
Wayland's more fun to me chasing the hunt, but I feel like with my play style, if I can find somebody who don't know what they're doing, I can get some wins, right? If I get down there, if
Mhm.
I end up losing and I get down lower, I can get some double wins easier with Wayland than with HB,
Yeah.
because I play HB and I still get beat sometimes by folks whenever, if they don't know what they're doing against Wayland, I can go boom, 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 kill quick, and go
Yeah.
ahead and call it a day. So that's the reason why I went ahead and chose it, even though I've played uh, like I said, the last 30 games, I didn't win a single game, and it was like wow,
Yeah.
because the folks knew what they were doing. You know what I mean? So it's brutal.
Mhm. Well, in Wayland too, you can always get you got the early kill threat. If you can get the right pieces in hand, it doesn't necessarily happen often, but it gives you a small bit of an out. And I don't know necessarily an original core. I haven't looked at it recently, but I know in uh in the core that the reboot core, like the sentries are some of the best like taxing ones, and specifically Shadow I think is like one of the best ice just available in original core when you're looking at repeated taxing for run through. But also, I mean, the money back on Shadow and stuff is so nice. And so I think like your ice is pretty good in Wayland because you've got the Century, you've got your ice wall, which is just the cheap gear check. Um, you've got a lot of things. So you've got a little bit of tax, a little bit of that early ice to protect your agendas. You've got some Pry-Rec targets since it has to be in there, Archer and Hadrian's. With the Hadrian buff, it's like feasible to res on its own. So I think like ice wise, you're pretty good. And then you've got that chance to like possibly pull out the early kill. So you can maybe get the middle um, with ice if you. I don't know if they're playing well and they're Gabe, they're probably going to outmoney you so fast that you don't really have much of a middle game. But like, there's a small chance that you get it with your ice. There's a chance that you get the early kill, and then after that, I mean, you're pretty much run over. But I think
Oh yeah.
the the extra chance gives you a little bit of a leg up over some other course, but
And it's fun too. Like it's just fun to like chase that kill at the very beginning and try and pull it off, right? Like it
mhm,
gives you something to do while the runner's just slaughtering you. Like there's still a chance, you know? Like once you get to a certain
yeah,
place with HB after you've been just like loading up ice the whole time playing, regular Netrunner, you're just like, all right, it's over. But even though I feel the same way
yeah,
with Wayland, I can pretty much tell at this point after playing so much when the game's over. Like I was talking through your game yesterday and I pretty
yeah.
much called it. I was like, at this point, it's looking bleak. And then a few turns later, I was like, it's pretty much over unless this guy's a genius and I just don't know what I'm doing with a Netrunner, So
Yep.
but I'll tell you
Yep.
this,
There were,
you
it
lasted
was
though.
like about half of that game. I was like, this game is pretty much done. I don't think there's anything I can do to get out of it. But
Nothing, nothing. No,
I could have had, I saw some deck tweaks afterwards that I think would have made a big impact. Um, so I had 3 C source. I don't
yeah,
think it's worth it.
nope,
C
two.
source is only relevant for such a short period of time because Gabe gets money so fast that at a certain point you're just not going to do it. Plus, I mean, the kill basically doesn't matter once the crash spaces are up. But just in case, because there was a long period during that time where actually there weren't crash spaces or decoys. So I think if I replace one C source with, for the same influence, 2 ghost branches, now I have advanceable traps
Yep,
because that's what I needed.
that's
Things I
what you
could
need.
stick in and advance.
But honestly,
Um,
you need several of them, and here's why. Like if like I said,
mhm,
Willie was running some ridiculous rig right
yeah,
there, right? Like massive
yeah,
overkill. But for the average person, they're running 3 infiltrations, so you need a way for them to get them to spend all 3 and still have a trap behind a huge server and to make them run it,
mhm,
waste a bunch of money, and then actually get got by the trap, so that you
yeah,
can then have even a chance to do whatever you're going to do to be back in the game. So it's tough.
yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah, because I built up servers that would tax like, I think he said it was like about 24 to
Mm,
get through the server 1 and R&D.
yeah.
But like, if I can't get him to run it,
Right. He had
So
no reason to with the Lemuria. I mean, like I said, that's the first time I've
yeah,
ever seen Lemuria played. That guy had Lemuria. I was like, all he's got to do, like one time he spent an infiltration. I'm like, granted, there's nothing that he can do wrong right now, but I was like, I would have just ran headquarters and then
yeah,
used the Lemuria to keep the infiltration in hand in case you made headquarters
yeah,
more expensive later. It was pretty funny, but man, I'm
for
telling you,
sure.
yeah. So it's honestly, but I will say this: the posted bounty. That's the key
Mhm,
to making Wayland better, really. And the
yeah,
Hadrian Wall costing 7 instead of 10, and the posted bounty being a 2 point
yeah,
agenda. Because not only does it give you the ability to have less agendas in your hand, which I get agenda flooded all the time with Wayland
mhm,
in standard, but it also lets it lets you have more slots for other stuff as well, so
yeah,
it's really good. And then you have the ability to actually advance it to score out as well, because at this point you're talking about you got to get a prirec, you got to get
mhm,
probably a private security force the hard way, and then you're looking at
yeah,
hopefully grabbing a couple of hostile takeovers to like advance it out, right? I mean, it's hard to
yeah,
even score out with the
yeah,
original core. So
for sure. And one
yeah.
thing that helped too, I think, is that the aggressive negotiation card was buffed to 2 cards you can search. So if you get an aggressive negotiation and a hostile takeover in your original hand, you can get the hostile takeover behind some ice, leave it, double advance that aggressive negotiation, and get the Sea Scorch, both of them into your hand. So now you have the money lead and you have the combo.
Hmm.
So I can't remember if I ever did that, but I needed cards in my deck, so I put them in just in case. But I think that that does help a little bit since early game kill is like is one of your few chances.
Yeah.
Um, like getting that to the fact that you can get 2 cards means you can get every piece of the combo that you need,
Hmm.
and so that is big because once you get to mid game, there's going to be a crash space, a decoy down. You need the kill essentially immediately. Otherwise, it's just dead cards.
I didn't think about that. Remind me of what aggressive negotiation does again.
Yeah, so aggressive negotiation, it's a one cost operation. And it's you can only play it if you've already scored an agenda this turn. So if you got a hostile that you leave in a server, then you can double advance that, score it. You've still got one click left. You can play aggressive negotiation, and then you can search your deck for up to two cards and put them
Ah,
in your hand.
okay. Yeah, not
So you can
see.
use it to.
I totally overlooked that piece because that would
Mhm.
be a great piece to put in there in replacement of
Yeah.
all the massive amount of agendas you have to have. You know, in reboot, you got a couple extra slots there for that right there.
Hmm.
So, no, that's a big thing that I missed out on. I thought I was the Wayland master, but apparently I have left out a major component of what could have made me have better chance with that. So, good info there.
Yeah. Hmm.
Like I said, I played nothing but Wayland for about 100 games in both original and the reboot. Maybe 100. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
probably been about 100 games. So I thought I'd pretty much like exhausted the Wayland possibilities. But you just pointed out my the error of my ways there in the reboot format. So very interesting. So yep,
Yeah.
he got to pick the. What happened to me in that tournament was I actually played the first game, and I can't remember how I lost being the corp, but hey, I mean you can't ever plan to win the corp. But the
Yeah.
second one, I had just got done with work for the day, and I was like, just like let's get these tournament games over with. And I went in there just
Hmm.
like not having my mind in Netrunner, and I was playing Jinteki, so I was thinking, oh, I got this. These guys ain't got no money, right? So
Yeah.
I go running in there with two cards about third turn, and
Oh
boom,
no.
I'm done.
Yeah.
So I was down
Yeah.
zero game, 0 of 2 in the first match, and I ended up winning the rest of my games. I ended up winning,
Wow.
for the next four to put me at 12. But had I just won that
That's
runner by
wild.
being patient, I could have easily won that runner had I just sat back and did what Gabe does, right? Because I mean, Gabe's just that
Hmm.
good, and
Yeah.
it's just like, man, I could have been right there, but hey, you know what? You live and you learn. I learned to not just move immediately from work to
Hmm.
Netrunner if you're playing and you
Yeah.
actually care about winning. So,
Yeah.
but I really enjoyed the game, especially probably the first, I'd say about 15 to 18 minutes of that game. Watching y'all was
Yeah.
fun. There was some high stakes. I'm like, is he got it? Is he got it? And then next thing you know, I was like, I've been here about 80 times over the past few months. I know where Volitar is at this point. So I
Yeah.
pretty much was just like talking about
Yeah.
Netrunner for the last, 10, 15 minutes of that game there.
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I had maybe one chance to score out after I got the Pyrrhec. So I had a Pyrrhec and two hostiles. If I would have drawn, so I had Archer, Chum, Ice Wall, and then I got another Archer up. Now the odds still were against me because I would have had to sacrifice a hostile to get the Archer up. And so then the posted bounty went to win me the game, but there was still one hostile left in the deck. So if I happened to draw it, um, but that was like the turn right before I got like double account siphoned. Um, so I think one of the things that was a big like misstep in my play there was, we got to like game point pretty fast. So it's like the game is in R&D. I didn't really have agendas in hand for so long, so I wasn't protecting hand, and I just wasn't respecting Gabe's ability.
Mm-hmm.
Because I mean, he was not too high on money for a while there, and so that makes the Archer server pretty decent. But like, just let him continue to like Gabe Desperado for three off of my hand for so long, and then those account siphons landed, and it was like, I don't know, when he gets to 50 credits,
Yep.
it's not good. So,
No, no, for sure. I mean, that was it right there. And even if you would have got another Archer up there, it was basically costing him 8 per archer, right? So that's 8,
Hmm.
16, 24. But he don't even have to do nothing with the chum because he's just going to spend the barrier to break to break the ice
Yep.
wall down there. So he was talking, even if you would have did that, it still wouldn't have cost him but like 25 to get all the way through there. And he had Lemuria and
Yep.
probably another infiltration to check. So,
Yep.
I mean, there's
It was
no way for
wild.
you to, yeah, I mean, you couldn't really do anything there. Now, I will say this. That's one thing I said in the video at one point. I'm like, he could literally, besides the fact of getting a snare last click, which he had a decoy to get rid of
Hmm.
that, right? He could have literally ran headquarters 6 times, looked at four different, I mean, 4 times, looked at
Yep.
4 different cards, even though he probably looked at the same one multiple times and gained $6 every turn until you started putting more ice on that server, right? I mean,
Yeah.
like you said, so I
Yeah.
mean, he could have just did that like for forever if he wanted to, but yeah, it was. It definitely turned into. Gave me flashbacks. I tell you, once we got to a certain point in that game, and I was just like, and but
Yep.
you kept on. The amazing thing was you kept on sticking in there, right? You kept on building up those servers, and I was just like, I would have never done that. Like I would have never built those servers up that high, right? The way
Yeah.
you did, and I was like, I got to give you credit for hanging in there as long as you did, right? But man, I was
Yeah.
like, there's just no way out. I mean, even if you built that server one up to 40 creds, he still would have enough to get through if he needed to, So
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was,
That Lemuria was really tough. The line that I was kind of clinging to was I had a snare and I knew he was like getting close to out of infiltration. So if I could just eventually tax some of his money, well, I had several snares. So if I could maybe put those snares in when they came up, I figured I could put in a hostile and double advance it and leave it to bluff it as a pyrec to hopefully get him to blow money. Just eventually, because if I could get him to run one of those servers, like, I mean, I need to do it twice. But on the off chance that that could happen, then he would be broke and just wrecked. There would be no coming back from it.
yeah,
Um, so that's what I was like. Those were the outs I was going for. They weren't high percentage, but you gotta hope.
yeah, yeah. I mean, like you said, the one way that you could have tricked him with the hostile takeover, with him having that Lemuria, would be for him to wait and run headquarters on like click 2 or
Hmm.
3 and end up getting a snare. So now he's got a tag he's got to clear off, which means he can't lose the Lemuria to check that deal. And if you had a double advanced something on there,
Yeah,
then he'd have to make that
yeah,
command
that's
decision to
good.
run it or not, right? He had to make that command
Yeah,
decision. And if that happened, but I mean the chance that that happened too. I mean he probably was thinking I need to run headquarters first click. I would run it first click to make sure I had was able to handle anything, do the Lemuria, and get down that
yeah,
server because he had nothing else to do. He was basically just sitting around like stacking money, right? There was like literally
yep,
nothing for him to do in that game at all, you
yep.
know?
There's like extra armitages laying around.
Yep. It was crazy. Yep. So, but anyway, I think we've exhausted that game right there, and,
Fair
and
enough.
it
Yeah,
was it was pretty crazy. I was pretty impressed with what happened on his end for sure. Um,
yeah,
but
yeah.
anyway, so yeah, it's nice meeting you, Blake,
Yeah,
and
good meeting you too.
I see you in the Ret Runner tournament. I forget who you're playing this week, but we'll see if we.
Yep, I saw the name.
Yeah, I've already played
But
mine. I got a runner split,
really
and it was
nice.
lightning fast runner splits. You're talking both of them ended in like turn 3. It was just like run headquarters. The first one for me was like run headquarters, get a priority wreck, run, and then it was like run R&D. I think I got something the next turn, and I ran headquarters and got another one the next turn. I mean, he was just agenda
Yeah,
flooded so bad he didn't even have much ice to put out there, and then
yeah,
he pretty much did the same thing to me. I think in R&D, he just ran R&D and just crushed me. So it was just pretty pretty brutal, but I was just happy to get that runner win, right? You got a runner split. You can't, if you lose a single runner game, it's over in this tournament, right? You might as well just go ahead and pack it up unless you drop down. I guess you could drop down to low enough and get you a double win on somebody, right? But I mean, yeah, you got to win. You got to win all your runner games and hopefully win like 2 corp games, or else I don't think you. I think you're going to either be middle. You'll probably be middle of the pack. You know, is about what best you can do. So, for
sure. Yeah, I'm hoping to get some practice in, probably tonight, and then play that Netrunner game whenever works best for the person I'm up against. So just started some of the planning processes, figuring out when to play. But
nice. Yeah, the key is wait, what was I going to say? I forgot what I was going to say. Nope, I forgot. Anyway, all right. Well,
all right.
It was a pleasure, and thanks for coming on and talking some Netrunner with me. I've played enough core experience that I felt like I know enough to talk semi-intelligently about it at this point. So it was fun actually talking about it with somebody, and hopefully there's some people out there who are interested in the core experience that can get something out of our conversation, as well as getting to know who Volitar is when you see him in the streets out there. You know what I mean? So
for sure.
It was a pleasure, and maybe one day I might get up to FFG headquarters, because I've always wanted to, get there. So I might holler at you, might get some games in person one day.
There you go. Play some Netrunner at the starting place.
Yep, that's right. All right. Anything you want to say to people out there before I let you go?
Just always be running. It's a great community. Really been enjoying playing Netrunner, and hope you got something from the conversation. So thanks so much for having me on.
All right. Thanks for coming. You take care.
Yeah, you too.